Hello YouTube, this is PrazorMaleKandy. Hope everyone is doing okay. I wanted to try this format now with my voice. Thank you for listening. So I recently came across, it was suggested in my feed, a video by the chess guy MGTOW on domestic violence. And since I saw in the thumbnail he was going to talk about this, I wanted to click and just see and listen to what this new generation of MGTOW think about domestic violence against men and male issues in general. I was kind of surprised how bad it was, actually, because way worse than I thought. Just a bit of a background about how I got originally into MGTOW before I dropped the label, because it, to me it was obviously becoming too anti-male. I got into MGTOW in 2015 because when I participated in you know, Facebook groups, people would, then the big debate was about biological determinism and whether or not men can actually be liberated from their gender roles because of biology. So I was always of the opinion that biological determinism in regards to male issues is trash, and we should never suffocate any efforts to liberate men because of biological determinism. So someone posted RBK's video arguing with Karen Strong exactly on that issue, and I was immediately very interested. I watched a lot of his videos. I also saw that he was a fan of Barbarossa originally, so I also headed over to Barbarossa's channel, where he sounded very charismatic, very cogent, and there was kind of a, you know, of the understanding in both of these people that men need to elevate their consciousness and understand that they're not inherently disposable people, you know, in the sense that society views men. And unfortunately, in my opinion, looking at the major channels now, all of this has been reversed with the influx of reactionary people like the alt-right and talking points basically lifted from Black Pigeon Speaks, and you can hear this in now taken down videos of Turtling Monkey, where he espouses that all of the talking points that Black Pigeon Speaks espouses that the only way to have a fair system is take away women's rights, and because men are naturally disposable, so we need to compensate this by taking women's rights away. And now this chess guy, MGTOW, is obviously, he says he's a fan of TFM, but he's obviously listened to him a lot, because he also is going to reveal his thoughts about men and masculinity.
We've seen an increase in the amount of services and just the overall awareness of female on male domestic violence, and that's a very good thing. But we have also seen the rise of something else in the last however many years: the emasculated male, the soy boy, the new male, whatever you want to call it. And that makes me wonder if part of the reason why we are seeing this rise is because we are also seeing that rise. It makes me wonder if, because these men are wimpy, these soy boys are wimpy, and they can't hack it as men, and they are essentially girly, they are now okay to be considered victims of domestic violence. It really makes me wonder that.
Now, the video doesn't start off too bad. He says that the heightened awareness of domestic violence against men is a good thing to him. Unfortunately, not even 1 minute or not even 2 minutes into the video, he's gonna correlate that to supposedly the rise of effeminate men and soy boys in today's society, to the heightened awareness of male domestic violence victims. And also he's going to correlate that to feminism, as if feminists have ever pushed or favored including male victims of domestic violence into the discourse. I think this is very outright misandric and anti-male because there is no correlation to men's masculinity and the fact that you can be a domestic violence victim. This is evident when you go back uh, in research from the past. Erin Pizzi has been speaking about this since the 70s. And do you think that men were soy boys then? She was speaking about equal numbers of men being abused in straight relationships as women being abused in heterosexual relationships. I don't see how this is any bearing to your level of masculinity and anything like that. He's saying that domestic violence victims that are men can't hack it as men, which is another absolutely misandric statement to make because that has no correlation.
And it also makes me wonder if this is for me, if these services would be for me if I really needed them. It makes me wonder if I was to walk in there and say, I need help, my wife is beating me, if I would be put in a room, sitting at a table with some counselor who is going to try and tell me that I have to cry, that I have to do things that I don't want to do because I don't feel like it, because it's not me, and because I don't think it's going to help me. It makes me wonder if these are specifically set up to funnel soy boys. It really makes me wonder that.
Furthermore, in the video, he says, I don't know if these services are for me. So again, the solipsistic kind of selfish, streak in MGTOW. Oh, it's all about me, and no male consciousness, collective male consciousness as to how to liberate men. I don't know if he's aware of this, but when you're a domestic violence victim, you can't just ask friends or family for help. You need the services. So it's very solipsistic to suggest that just because you, for some reason, you won't feel comfortable in this shelter, that other men or all men should be barred from ever having these safety nets in these resources. Another interesting statement is that he says that in his view, these um, shelters, allegedly, and I'm gonna say why I say allegedly, are set up to funnel soy boys. I feel this is very interesting considering that there are almost 2,000 shelters for women in the United States, but only two, I'm aware of only two for men. So I can't really see the proof of this theory of his that feminists are set out to feminize men, so therefore we're now okay with male domestic violence victims. I don't see the proof of this, and I don't think this theory bears out in any way.
Part of the reason this makes me wonder as well, part of the reason why I'm curious about this is because for the longest time we lived in a society where the women are wonderful effect was the thing. It was the rule. The women are wonderful effect is the idea or the phenomenon where women are just awarded for little to no reason other than the fact that they are women positive or benevolent traits, while men are awarded negative or malevolent traits just on the merit of them being men. This is something that was found by psychologists. And what's more is they were trying to prove that women were the despised gender. But it's pretty clear that they found the opposite of that. So we lived in a society where that was championed, okay? And part of the reason that is championed is because men are men. Men were men. So you couldn't find these services in that society. You could not find them. It just did not work like that. Even if places said that they would help both genders, they would turn men away. They wouldn't advertise it in this manner, certainly not, but they would also turn men away if they needed help. And of course, we all know the crap with how women can just call at any given point and say that you hit them or that you intimidated them, and they can just, carry off to jail. But in that society, we could not get the help, okay? Then feminists come along and they start saying, no, men need to emasculate themselves. Men need to cry. Men need to play second fiddle to some woman who she decides that she's going to settle down with. And men need to be the betas in the relationships, and the women need to be alphas. All of a sudden, that society is being championed by feminists, and they're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And we're seeing kids being taught that in schools. And all of a sudden, these services just happen to pop up post feminist society. It makes me wonder. It seems very convenient to me, and I'm wondering what you guys think.
Then the biggest red flag and the most misandric thing in the video was where he said that in the past, when men could absolutely not get any help and be registered as victims of domestic violence in any way, was a good thing, actually, because that indicates to him that men are men. And the situation now where we actually care about or have more awareness of domestic violence against men, this is indicative that men are becoming effeminate. And he brings up the so-called women are wonderful effect, which this is just female privilege. The fact that women could get help even then, supposedly in the dark ages of patriarchal male oppression, and he says that this is somehow a good thing, and it makes him worried that men are becoming more effeminate by being accepted as domestic violence victims. The notion that you as a man are perceived as dangerous is misandry and should be eradicated from society. Make no mistake about this. This is not something that is up for debate if you're pro-male. And then he's saying that this society where men are accepted as victims of domestic violence, or just maybe victims as a whole, is championed by feminists. They champion this. Are you, Mr. PrazorMaleKandy, are you aware that they have been suppressing information about male domestic violence victims and the severity that entails as injuries, etc.? I suppose not. I suppose TFM didn't bring that little detail into his videos. But the very fact that you will say that feminists endorse this shows how delusional you are when it comes to male issues.
I'm very skeptical of things like this. You know, I'm very cautious. And I would be very cautious to go into one of these places. I would almost not consider it. I would almost just think, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. Maybe I'll talk to my family instead of a domestic violence shelter or call center or whatever this is.
At the end of the video, he is, making the claim that probably the masculine, or, the way real men would deal with abuse is by, seeking help from friends and family. Well, the thing is that friends and family are not equipped to help you because you need counseling, and the most important thing that the shelters provide is a safety net where you can take your kids away from the abusive partner and then start clean, and you have all the resources, financial or otherwise. So I think that if women have these resources, it's completely fair that men should also have resources to deal with domestic violence, and only a completely anti-male, misandric person and deluded person would argue against this or would consider this a red flag. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.